So we love our mid-century house. It was built in 1956 and we bought it about a year and a half ago. One thing that has been driving us crazy, which is typical in all mid-century homes, is you have double sliding doors for your closet doors. Houses this age don't have walk-in closets, and as you can see, one of these doors is already off the hinges. And another bad thing is when you slide it open, you can truly only see half of what's in your closet. So for this project, our goal is to make this a better functioning closet. We are going to do hinge doors, and it'll be a very small, but it will be a walk-in closet. First things first, we are going to take off these doors, which aren't going to take a whole lot. There we go. I mean, these are just tiny little plastic rollers, and then up on top, all it is a little metal track. So they just don't stay on well. It's about the cheapest way you can put closet doors on. Once you get the doors off, the very first thing you want to do is take this guy off. You'll lose a toe if you don't. And it actually looks like they used a paint stick, I guess. Fingers crossed we got carpet underneath here. Oh, yeah. All right, so real quick, we pulled the doors off the hinges. I pulled the rollers off the top, and then on the back side here, we have removed the little pull plate for the sliding door. So the next task is we got to get everything out of this closet. We're going to remove it all, including the bar and the shelf. Closet emptied out. We got to take off the guides that were for the sliding doors. So they're just held in with a couple screws, so we'll pull those out real quick. You can see here we have the hinge sketched on to our door frame. A real easy way to do this is just measure your hinges on your existing doors throughout your house. Assuming you're using, the same door, wherever the hinges are located, just kind of copy those measurements. So we started 7 inches down to here. There's our hinge. You'll usually have about 3/16 of an inch overhang on the left side of the hinge. That just helps for the door operations. All right, it takes a little bit of time, so don't rush it. But there's our rough opening. We'll hit it with some sandpaper and get this perfectly inlined and level. So 1 down, 6 to go, 5 to go. 1 down, 5 to go. All right, we have the top and bottom hinge locations. They're notched in, same on the other side. So what we'll do is we'll run a tape measure. We'll draw a guideline between the top left edge and the bottom left edge. We'll do a light guideline, then we'll take my 48-inch level, and we'll make sure we get a level outline between the 2 points. All right, we have all 6 hinge plate locations chiseled in, as you can see. And then on the floor here, we're gonna clean this up. It takes a little time to do all of it, so don't rush it. Outline it, make sure you're level on all sides and even from the edge. Because there's no guarantee the frame itself is straight, So if you have like a 4 or 5 foot level, it makes it pretty easy to go from hinge to hinge with your level and make sure they're in line, because you know your frame can be out of line, but if you measure your hinges and make sure they're in line, your doors will be nice and straight. So here is our trim piece. This is identical to what exists on all other doors. So like I said, reference what you have existing, measure how your hinges are set up on your existing doors, especially if you're replacing, or sorry, modifying what you have existing on sliding closet doors. And this piece is this piece right here. So this is pretty easy to do. We've marked out our lines like we said before, and we'll take our doorstop trim piece, we'll put it at the top there, we'll put in one finishing nail at the top, we will take out our 4 foot leveling guide, and we'll make sure our trim piece is level vertically. We'll put a second nail in the bottom, and that'll kind of hold it in place, and we'll put about 4 more finishing nails within this piece. So we put the trim piece in. All right, it's day 2. We caulked all the edges, both back and front. So we'll make sure to paint this. We gotta paint this. We're gonna do a little bit more sanding. I had to touch up a little bit of the caulking this morning, so we're waiting for that to dry. We'll be good to go. So the next step I'm gonna do, I have a little bit of time, is I'm gonna move these 3 hooks. We're gonna move one here to cover up this mess, same here, put a third one here, and then the clothes bar will go from here across.
Fills you with such great energy. Will you be alone with me? One time I was driving from Florida for a reggae festival, and my bus ended up breaking down in Arizona. I'm a person that never really believed in coincidences. I think it was like fate calling me. I was looking through some of the local papers, and they had an ad for a recording school to start classes for audio engineering.
We have touch-up paint, so we're gonna paint all this right after we paint our frame. And then I think we're gonna paint this blue to match our wall. So while we wait for the paint to dry, I'm gonna go ahead and start leveling out my hinges. So I started with the first one here. You'll see I have a little dot in between each hole. That's for our pilot hole. And what I do is I'll take the level, you actually put it right up amongst there and get that hinge as level as you can. I only have the 1 screw in there for now because I'm gonna try to get the top one in each. I'll then use my 4 foot level in between hinges and kind of straighten them up before I put in the final screws.
Didn't know where to live. He kept speaking about his children. He made us feel that he really wanted us together.
I know I don't deserve this.
Can you send money to like to London?
All right, so to show some quick math, I used my laser and pulled the dimensions in between all 3 sets of hinges. So we had 3 foot 10 and 5/16 for the top 2, with 3 foot 10 and 6/16 for the last one there. So we do need a little bit of a gap in between the center of the 2 doors. I'm actually going to cut with my circular saw this whole blocking out, and we will put in new blocking at the edge of the door. All right, so we have our door out here. We have our guide set up. We're going to be removing this amount from our door. Going to put our other clamp on this end. Kind of see how that lines up on this end. So there's my cut. We took off about 3/4 of an inch. Just remember, depending on your door, you know, if you're removing anything over a 1/2 inch, you usually want to do half on one side, half on the other. Otherwise you'll notice, you know, this distance from here compared to on this side will be less. But just keep that in mind. If you really want them to look symmetrical, you want to make 2 cuts. You know, then you get into painting both sides. If I would have made a cut on here, this becomes really, really thin. So These were all just things I took into consideration, and by making just one cut on each side, I think once you get the handles and it's set on the hinges, you're not going to notice. Okay, so the next step is we need to put blocking since we cut it off when we ran it through the circular saw. We have some existing blocking here, so we're going to cut a piece from here to here, put wood glue on each side and just shove it in there. We're just going to put it in the chop saw real quick, cut off the right amount. Same for this side. Now this side's a bit weird. There's styrofoam that seems to be glued in place, so I'm just going to take a razor blade. Alright, so we pulled that styrofoam out. We just took a razor blade, ran it back and forth a bunch of times, smoothed it out. You can see what the blocking looks like on this end. We'll pull this back out and put glue on each side and we'll be ready to go. Alright, we've got the blocking inserted and the glue is drying. We put a clamp on each end just to hold those in place. We decided to paint that blue. It matches our accent wall that we have in the bedroom here. I like the way it turned out. That's also our motion LED light that we're going to install. So it turns off after 30 seconds, but boom, turns right back on. So we worked pretty late last night. Not a whole lot of filming. We were hanging shelves, doing a little bit of painting. We got our hanger rail in here. We have the motion activated light up there. Shelves in place. I have moved this piece in. I was kind of curious what this shelf would look like. In comparison, you can see why we got the black and black on this side. We already had this guy. So yeah, we're gonna attach this. We're gonna put just a couple dabs of glue and then we'll put a couple finishing nails around the back edge. All right, so we have all the shelves in. I like how the shelves are. I have a little accent piece for here, here, and above. Hey, squirrels. Where are they at? You can see here we mudded and now have painted this cut edge along. I'll fill this with epoxy once I get the door on the hinges. Second one we did, same thing. I'll hit these couple little gaps with epoxy and we'll be good to go. So I have my first door I'm gonna mount on the hinges in place. So I have my hinges closed and basically the door aligned how we want it. I used a couple hardback books and then just got, you know, basically the right thickness of a magazine. Reason I did that is trying to get this top edge to have a nice gap. And part of that is we're gonna have the ball stops that we have to mount in here as well. So once this is aligned, you wanna grab your level, throw it on the side here. We are level, or pretty close, so we can do the final, you know, smaller adjustments with the hinges and screws. So the next thing I'm gonna do is we are going to mark off on this door in this location. I'm gonna double check the gap needed for the ball stop because I might have to lower this. Okay, so I have marked with these lines basically the edges of this part of the hinge when it was all closed. Same for here and down there. The next thing you want to measure is go to one of your existing doors. You're going to measure the offset from the hinge to this edge. And as long as this edge is straight, you'll be able to line it up pretty easy and then just put a dot for each one of your holes. And then we'll pre-drill into our blocking with a small drill bit and hand screw in the hinges. But as you can see, we have French doors installed. We reused our existing doors that were sliding doors, and we have French doors now. You can see. Just pull those, slide back. We have 2 shelves. Sorry, 3 shelves on the right, 2 shelves on the left. We put in a couple little accent mirrors just for fun. There's the LED bar. It's pretty cool. So it charges and it lasts, I don't know, like 8-10 hours or something on one charge. And it just has a little magnetic strip that has like a 3M backing on it. So you just prop that up there. Has a couple different settings, so it's just set motion only, so if it detects any motion, it'll kick on. So you just have to take about one step into the closet. Like we said, it would be a small but walk-in closet. All right, so overall it took me about 24 hours to do this entire project. I did the majority of the work by myself. This is not a beginner project. You have to have quite a few tools and just general knowledge of woodworking, metalworking, and depending on the design you're doing. It does take some time, some planning, but overall I did this entire project for $200. We reused the doors. The biggest problem with the doors was we ended up having to plane them down on the back edge here, 3/4 of an inch. The problem was it ended up taking out the existing blocking all the way. So we didn't, well, I did the math, so I knew that was gonna happen. We took a circular saw, as you saw, cut that off, and we had to install the blocking. So that was just like one of those like kind of unsuspected problems that we ran into. But here you can see all of the stuff in the closet. And I think it turned out really good. It matches our room. We just did a little bit of an accent, kind of painting this existing trim piece blue. We weren't going to risk taking that out. So why not accent it since we have to keep it? The hooks look really nice. I'm going to remove that hook I put in the back there. I'm going to move it over here so there's a little bit more space. But these mirrors we just picked up from Walmart, really cheap, like $15, I think. So they're just a little accent piece, but they had that gold and black that went with not only the closet, but the rest of the room. So yeah, for about $200, we did this entire project. About 24 hours of manual labor. I went, a little bit, I wouldn't say above, but I like try to get the detail in there, and that's just kind of how I like to do projects. So you could definitely do it a little bit quicker, but overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out.